Recording. Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time zone you're in. We're so glad that you're here. Fantastic, fantastic. We have posted a few questions there. Go ahead and put them in the chat so that you get kind of an idea and we get an idea of where you all are coming from. Betsy, you want to give us the once over to again about logging in, just in case anybody else is having an issue logging in?
Sure, we apologize if you had trouble logging in. We had trouble logging in. Zoom has decided to change something. What we're asking people to do is, introduce yourself and where you're from. And then we have two questions, if you would like to, in the warm-up. What are you most worried about regarding your business, and what do you feel like you have a handle on? And you could answer one or both, but something that's going well and something that you're concerned about when you think about your business. And we'll get started in a moment.
Betsy, repeat the second question, please.
Sure. The first question is, what are you most worried about when it comes to your business? Or what do you feel like you have a good handle on? What's going well?
It's so fun to see some familiar faces. So good to see you all. Good, good. Thank you. All right. When do we want to get started? Are we going to give people one more minute to log on? We know that there was a little bit of like log on issues today. Sorry about that. So we're going to give people just a few more minutes. And ooh, check out the chat, my friends. There is a lot going on in the chat there. And actually, you know what? I'm going to read some of these because a lot of times those who might log in on the phone or things like that, they don't always get these. And also then it gets recorded in the transcript. So here's some of them that I'm reading here. Sarah's got a good problem, I suppose, but I am still figuring out how much work I can take on at one time. And so I'm worried about overcommitting. Oh, that is a good problem to have. I feel like the nuts and bolts, the back end is working smoothly. Good job, Sarah. Fantastic. Nancy from Washington, D.C., finding work, especially that aligns with skills and interests. Nancy, I feel ya. David McKenzie is joining from Arlington. Yes, I'm most worried about income streams and making sure we're making enough money. Um, Feels good about having a good handle on the quality of work or creative process. Does anybody agree with this stuff? Jenny, oh, it's so good to see you, Jenny. Fantastic. I'm most worried about understanding my clients' pain points and that I have a handle on my values. Oh, Jenny, you've been there. You've been inside museums. The people you're working with was you back in the day. So I love that. Yes. Sarah's all about articulating concerns that, oh, David is saying that to her. Awesome. Um, just starting out and eager to know what I don't know a lot of. Oh, I hear that all the time in coaching calls of like, I just don't know what I don't know. How many people have ever heard that? I don't know what I don't know. How many people ever felt that? 1,000%. We think we know so much about the museum world, but then when we start as entrepreneurs, we're like, oh, geez, I don't know what I don't know, right? So good.
Um,
So good.
Beth, we are at
Let's
six
do it.
minutes, and I think the admits are slowing down. So
Good,
why
good.
don't why don't
Fantastic.
we jump in?
Oh, it's filling time. We got to make it
Oh yeah, no, you're filling
we
time,
make.
but I think we can go forward now. Thank
Okay,
you.
let's do it. Let's do it.
Laura,
Welcome to today's IMP program, your IMP Business Journey, finding your next right steps. And today's session is being recorded. So, welcome everyone. My name's Laura Shepard, and I'm one of our 3 speaker moderators for today's session. Independent Museum Professionals is a professional network of consultants and freelancers who work in all areas of museums and with all types of museums. Our network serves as a central hub, providing resources, knowledge, and connection to independent museum professionals. We're committed to supporting independent museum professionals, fostering strong relationships between professionals and museums, and advancing the broader museum field. If you're interested in getting involved with IMP, we'll provide some more information at the end of the session. So I am a historian and an exhibit content developer, and I've been in IMP for a couple of years. So I feel like I'm still early in my journey, but this finding the right next steps, that kind of feels like right where I am. So I have 2 other presenters that are with me today. Betsy, will you introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Betsy Loring. I'm an exhibit developer and evaluator in Worcester, Mass. And Beth, after you introduce yourself, why don't you call on our other Laura so she can introduce herself?
Ooh, good plan. Good plan. I'm Beth Housewert and I run Inspired Impact. I do coaching, all kinds of good things that give a jump start on industry knowledge for newbies. And I also kind of cultivate the community within the museum world. So that's me. Laura, other Laura, give us the lowdown.
Other Laura Roberts, in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and I am the chat monitor and Zoom guru, and apparently I'm doing the slides, and my computer isn't quite doing what I want it to do today, so maybe a little laggy in my support, but lovely to be with you all today. And now I'm going to turn off my video so that when I look panicked, you don't see me being panicked.
Fantastic. Well, hopefully you can get the poll started because that's kind of our first thing that we're going to do here is we want to get a little bit of a sense where everybody is in their IMP business journey because a lot of times when people join here, they come from different places. Maybe you're IMP curious and you're not quite sure if you want to go out on your own or not. Maybe you're in startup mode. Maybe you're hustling and you're really in the thick of it. Or maybe this is like old hat and you're like, well, let's see what all the newbies have to say when they come on. So we're going to give just a little bit of time to make sure that everybody can finish this. And while we're doing that, we're going to explain kind of what's going on. So also offering a bit of a disclaimer here. So today we're here as your friends and your peers. We are not financial advisors. We are not legal counsel or a therapist. You can ask all those questions and we can give our personal opinions, but we really do just hope this session helps you decide when you need to enlist those type of professionals because we are not them. Okay. So one of the parts of today's session is also a breakout. And we just want everybody to remember that these are spaces for confidentiality. You can take the lessons that you learn within the breakouts, but we really want to make sure that we leave the specifics in the meeting today and just take the lessons. So there's that. Also in the breakouts today, because it will be a decent size part of our time today, we also want to really be respectful of everyone's time. We all are working very hard and have a lot on our plates. So I know we all have lots and lots of stories to tell, but we want to make sure that everyone has time to tell a little story. So just be very, very mindful of that and making sure that when you are in the breakout, you're taking time for a story, but not the whole chapter. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and end the poll so that you can see what everybody has shared. All right, so it looks like we've got about 40% of our folks, they're hustling. You're in the thick of it. You are really looking for meaty goodness. I love that. I love that. I have to say that as much as I'm in startup mode, I do feel like I'm a hustler. I'm in the midst of hustling. I've made some money. Am I completely comfortable in the amount of money I've made? Not really. But I'm a hustler. and we're getting things done. So that's what it looks like the bulk of our folks are today. And behind that is the startup folks. So again, I'm kind of in both of those. And I think our presenters would say the same. So there you go. I'm going to stop the share and we're going to move on to our next section. Fantastic. Betsy, are you up here?
I am. Is it possible to share the next slide, or I can just do this verbally? Ah, there we go. So we're going to do a quick agenda, just so everybody knows the shape of what we're doing. We've just finished our quick poll. I'm going to set the scene very quickly. As we were working on this, so many people are like, how do I start? What's the best way to set up my business? And as the three of us talked, Laura Shepard was like, you know what? I started one way, and then a few months later, I had to change a little bit, and I changed, and we realized this is a journey for all of us, and nobody should feel like you're making a decision for the rest of your business life. You're making the decision for right now, and as things change, you need to be reassessing. So that's why it turned into a discussion about a journey. So now that number 2 is done. We're going to do very mini stories from Beth, Laura Shepard, and myself, talking about our personal business journey and what we're going to talk about in our breakout rooms. Then we're going to have breakout rooms. You get to choose which one based on the topic you want to talk about. And we're hoping, although we will share our stories in those rooms, we mostly want to be moderators. There's a lot of wisdom in each of these rooms. And so this is, we hope, more of a discussion. And again, keep the specifics, like names and things, separate, but go ahead and take away the journeys. We might want to shave, I think we had 20 minutes allocated. We might want to make it more like 16 or 17 minutes, just because we lost some with the registering in. Then we'll come together. The recording will go back on, and each of us will share something that came out of our room. There might be a minute or two for 1 or 2 people from each room to share, and then we just do a quick wrap up. And there's always a survey at the end of these IMP webinars, which 1 evaluates the session you were just in, and 2 asks, is there crowdsourcing for future exhibit topics? So the other thing I will share that's not in the agenda, and we can just stop slide sharing, is that we have created 2 resource sheets. One is a list of sort of periodic check-in questions, and the top of that, and so just keep these questions in your mind, like, how do you define sustainability or growth? Growth doesn't always mean bigger and better. It might mean more time to take care of your kid or your mom. It might be more time for your artistic practice. So what is growth and success for you? It might be less time with the really annoying cheapo clients. And so again, how do you define success? And then finally, what are you doing well and what's working? So keep those questions in mind. So one of our resource sheets is those questions plus a whole lot of just bullet points to think about. And the second is we've started pulling together resources that the IMP group has already put out about pricing or things like that. So that's that. And I think the first person presenting is going to be Beth, telling us about her journey and what she's going to talk about in her role.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Yes. So again, I'm Beth Housewert and I'm from Inspired Impact. I always say that I work in education, but I don't work in like the classroom kind of education. So when I first stepped into my first museum job after college, I kind of just felt like I was hooked. I felt like I was in the right place. It was a moment that I realized I was like, ooh, this is where I belong. It's like teaching, but like not school teaching, but like you get to choose all the cool fun stuff that's happening. So it's really about like being curious and creative and creating community. It's like where all of that stuff came together. So after my first few museum jobs, I spent the last 12 years of my museum career in senior leadership. And I really, really loved the work. I loved the people. I loved the mission. But after being asked again and again to speak at ACM's Emerging Museum Pre-Conference many years in a row, and having people coming back to me again and again and saying, holy smokes, we need your help. Can I call you? All these things. It just kind of clicked. And I realized that like my impact could be bigger than just the four walls of that single museum. So my bubble had gotten too small and my passion wanted more space. So I stepped out on my own and I started Inspired Impact. And that was in 2023. So, like I said before, I'm still in startup mode, but I'm also feeling good and I'm hustling. So, let me tell you, nothing confirms that you're in the right place like having coaching calls where your people are feverishly taking notes. They're having aha moments and they're coming back and they're saying, Beth, that changed everything. Oh my goodness. So that's when I knew that it wasn't just my content that I was giving to people, but it was the way that I was teaching it. The way that I showed up, my humor, my energy, my clients calling me the cool aunt of the museum world, my clients calling me the Oprah of museum education. Like, I'm not calling myself this. Other people are. Well, I just did, but that's what people actually responded to. So when I was asked to be part of this group today, I was like, oh, I know what I want to talk about. I want to talk about knowing who you are before you start anything else. You need to lean into who you are as a person. Lots of people know what you know. And I don't mean that to say in a rude way, but like people know your content, but people want to learn from you. They hire you for the way you interpret the information, the way you teach it, and the way you bring it to life. But you don't discover that part of you overnight. So you have to find your passion and how it intersects kind of with what you're good at. And that takes time. It takes iterations. It takes trying new things and dropping things and picking things up again. So for me, it looked like saying yes to the projects that kind of pushed me a little bit, noticing what really lit me up, talking, and knowing what drained me. 20-page deliverables. Not me. So then I would watch what people kept coming back for. And then I paid attention to the work that made hours feel like minutes. Like, you know, when you get in the zone and you look up and it's 3 p.m. and you're like, oh, wow, that was a lot. And you get in the zone, like, be mindful of that. So you can do the same thing and you got to like think what is really good. And it's not just what you're good at. I was great at writing grants. I was great. Well, I am great at managing grants. Do I love it? No. No, I don't. Do I offer it in my business? No, I don't. I'm good at it, but I don't offer it because it doesn't bring me joy. It doesn't give me freedom. So here's a couple of tips that I have in my last 2 minutes here. Follow your energy. What tasks make you come alive? Do more of those. Track your sparks. Anytime you feel excitement, curiosity, I can do this all day. Remember those things. Look for patterns that are happening. What do people thank you for? What do they always ask you to explain? Think about those things. Next one. Try small experiments. Maybe just pilot a service. See what happens. Offer a couple of things out there. Host a little mini training to see how it goes over. Test an idea. See what sticks. What do people register for? Look back on your social media analytics and see what is the biggest one there. Do that. So iterate without guilt. You are an IMP and you are allowed to change. You are the boss, and that might be new to you, but keep it up. Just keep going. Blend passion with your ability. You got this. You got this. So last things last, because literally I only had 5 minutes today. You are an IMP. You can pivot when you want to. You get to grow You get to follow your projects that bring you fortune, fame, and fun, right? You can blend your passion and follow, even if it's not exactly what you are known for and being good at, but it's what you love to do. All right, so lean into who you are, lean into what feels right, lean into what brings you joy, energy, curiosity, lean in the direction that your business really wants to go. And listen, listen, listen. Okay, you've got this. Lean in, lean in. That's the thing that I have to say, lean in. Let's see what everyone else has to say. Fantastic. You can obviously, my personality is what I lean into. All right, Laura, let's hear what you have to say about your business journey.
Thank you. That was great. That left me with some good questions to ask myself. So I started my IMP journey about 3 years ago. And before that, I had been working as a museum curator, but got to the point where I was ready to step away from that position. And I started off taking on some contract projects. And I really thought that that was just going to be something I did for a little while before I kind of assumed I'd be heading back to a W-2 job. But I really discovered that I loved the contract work. I had a really great opportunity to work with a friend, and I was getting to deep dive into some aspects of Oregon history that had been overlooked for way too long. So it was a really exciting opportunity. And through this experience, I realized I loved the variety of work. I liked working for myself, and I started to think like, could this be the full-time thing? Could I do this? And so I reached out to a couple of people in the field and asked if they'd talk with me and give me some of their advice. And that was what brought me to the IMP network, which was a tremendous resource. I was so grateful to find the listserv, find the resources that really got me going. And then the next thing I did is I really started to look at other people that were working independently in the public history field. And part of what was so exciting to me about that is, exactly what Beth was just mentioning. I found a lot of people that had carved out a really unique niche. They had taken a whole set of different background skills and really found something that was really specific. Even within, even as I drilled down more and more, it was still really cool to see how much variety was out there. So I thought, okay, I'm doing this. I'm ready to start a business. But then it felt really daunting. I started thinking about things like LLC and banking and all these different things. And I thought, kind of, how am I going to do this? So before I begin a project, my usual approach is I like to kind of feel like I have a handle on everything. I want to learn all the steps. I want to make a plan. But I decided to do something different this time. I thought, what if I simply start? So, I realized I'd already started. I was already doing contract work. So, I was already kind of going. And so I thought instead of trying to, again, like approach this holistically of thinking about what somebody who's 5 years into it has, all the pieces they have in place, I thought I'm just going to start taking steps. So I started forming that LLC, and then I got the business bank account and the EIN number. And then I thought, okay, now it's time to get a Google business email. So I got that going. And then the next thing seemed to me like a website. So I just was really kind of building as I went instead of trying to do everything at once, just kind of taking a step and then from there being like, okay, what's the next step? And at that point, I didn't yet have enough work to really be full-time busy. And so it was a great opportunity for me to learn how to build a website, how to do some of these different pieces. So one of the things that I really did is kind of each step of the way, I thought about what do I need right now with what my business looks like at this exact moment. And I also, of course, had the thought of where do I want to get? And so what will I need then? But I really tried to focus on what I needed at this exact moment. And so to give you another example, early on, my income stream was not very consistent. So I was really nervous to take on too many different subscription services. I didn't want my the things that I was paying for to outpace my income. And so I started with a lot of the free accounts. Like, for example, I knew I needed to track my time and I knew I needed to make invoices, but I also knew I didn't need the very most robust accounting software that was out there. So really, for me, it was kind of at each step asking this question of what do I need at this stage? What are the tools? What are the project management, invoice, timekeeping, but also what could be done a little bit later? What could I wait to have a more solid income stream? And so I found as I got busier, then I was ready to outsource more pieces of my business. So for me, it's really been this kind of process of balancing and kind of instead of thinking of it as a single day that the doors are open, which is maybe kind of how it feels for a brick and mortar business. I think part of the value, what we get to do as IMPs is we really can kind of grow a little bit more slowly. We can feel our way into things. And so for me, it's kind of been a couple reasons that I've done that. One big reason, as I mentioned, was trying to make sure that my income and my expenditures were kind of in alignment. But it was also, I think, what felt manageable, what I felt like I could get my arms around and taking on everything all at once, trying to be at that, I keep saying, but that 5-year endpoint felt too daunting. So instead, it felt a lot more manageable to take it as I went. So those are some of the things that I'm really wanting to talk with you all about in the breakout session is really thinking about how you're defining sustainability and growth. What are the things that are working and what are some of those pain points? How do you know when it is time to outsource? How do you kind of start to feel confident to kind of take that next step? So what does that strategic growth look like? And for me, that's really been that growing slowly, growing over time, and kind of waiting to feel like my business was ready for that next step and trying to make sure that it felt like things that I could kind of keep a handle on. So, Betsy, I'm really looking forward to hearing what you have to share.
Thanks, Laura. Um, so Beth has enthusiasm and Laura has this lovely calm presence, and I have snark. I might drop an F-bomb here and there. Um, oh, and I forgot to start my timer because once I get going, it just doesn't want to go. Come on, start. My timer's not going to go. There we go. Okay.
You need a time check, Betsy.
Yeah, no, I'm good now. Okay. So just to go back a little bit, let me admit somebody here. This is a second career for me. Museums is a whole second career. I had a whole other career in solid waste management, the perfect lead in to museum work. And I got into this field by interning at the age of 40. I was probably the oldest intern at the Museum of Science in Boston, and then just volunteered my way in, and eventually was in senior management, where, I liked some parts of it, the operational stuff, not so much. And eventually, there was a reorganization at my museum in 2008, the end of 2018. So I and a whole bunch of us were out on our butts. And I was working with a career coach who really did exactly what with her clients, what Beth talked about. It's not just what services you do, it's not what you do, it is how you do what you do. What is your flavor of X, Y, and Z? So I had already started thinking about that. I was looking for jobs and I was toying with the idea of going out on my own. I cannot move out of Massachusetts. I own a home. I've got disabled adult children. And it just became apparent after one really red flag filled interview that I'm like, I just don't want to work for people I hate anymore. I'm just going to have to make this work and go solo. Um, so I launched in 2019. Don't recommend 6 months before pandemic launching, but I did. Um, and because I'd worked with a career coach, I knew what I was going to say on my website, but I needed work right away. And so I did a couple things. I have a big mouth. I crack a lot of snarky jokes at a lot of conferences. I put on a lot of sessions. Because of that, I had like a huge network, including I'd worked on collaborative projects. I'd been on conference sessions before. I emailed the living daylights out of everybody, but I didn't just say, hey, I'm looking. If you just say, hey, I'm looking, people's search image is going to be what they know of you. They're going to send you more of your old job title, which might make you want to stab yourself in the neck, which mine would have. So I gave people like 4 bullets of like ideal projects, ideal clients. I would like to work on a collaborative staff development, blah, blah, blah. Give people who are help people help you. Do the Tom Hanks, help people help you. Give them a really clear search image of what you want. Not, don't let them fill in the blanks. And at the end, offer, how can I help you? Because once you're on the outside, you can suddenly be helping people who are quietly looking for work. So the offering that reciprocity. The second thing I did is I went to the very first conference I could find. It was the Building Museums Conference, and I talked to so one of the things you need to figure out is who are the people that would hire your services? I'm an exhibit content developer. All right. That's going to be museums and design firms. Museums are slow. They need to go raise their money. I needed something quick. So I worked the living crap out of the exhibit hall. I created a postcard and said, here are the services. So I didn't just give them a business card, but I gave them a little postcard and said, here are the services I do. And when somebody in a design firm was in an exhibit hall, I would wait till they weren't selling their services and say, do you hire subcontractors? I now work for 3 different design firms. One came through like 6 weeks later, one came through 2.5 years later, and those have been giving me steady work. While I also reached out to the 2 or 3 museum directors I knew and said, hey, friends and family discount. And then there's just a lot of other ways to be networking, writing articles, joining committees on your local museum conference session, creating I'm creating conference sessions, those sorts of things. So ways to sort of keep your network going. So that's what I want to talk about in my session with everybody, which is like, how do we identify who because for me, a conference is a target-rich environment. What's your target-rich environment? How do you find those decision makers? How do you work your network? How do you get your name out there when advertising is largely irrelevant for most of us? So how do we work that network? So that's what we're going to talk about in room 3. And I'm 3 seconds under. So I guess now that means Laura Roberts is going to create, we'll be stopping the recording, creating 3 discussion rooms, join whichever one. Again, Beth.
My group. Welcome back. Welcome back. We are now recording, so I get to start over. All right. So we're glad that you're here. Hopefully, your conversations were fruitful, whether you got deep into content or you just were able to introduce yourself and talk through a few things about yourself and make some connections with friends. I hope it was fruitful. All right, so I'm going to give a quick summary of the goodness that happened inside of our session, and then I'm going to toss it over to Laura to give some of her takeaways, and then of course Betsy is going to chime in too, because oftentimes when we have breakouts like this, I get so concerned because I'm like, oh, what did I miss? Right? I bet you feel that way too. So in our session, I'm going to make it quick because we only have 4 minutes before the top of the hour. We introduced ourselves. And we talked about what our passion was. And also, with a few folks, got to the point of saying, like, what is your title? Like, let's create a real short, because it took a long time just to say what you're passionate about. Let's make it super short. So the one big takeaway is have a good elevator pitch about what you do. It should be 1 sentence. This is what I do. Boom, done. All right, so that's my little summary. Laura.
We had a really great discussion around how do you pivot? How do you maybe add new services? And thinking too about adding some services that aren't just more time intensive so that you can grow, so that you can make it sustainable. We talked about, as you add those new services, how do you start reaching new clients? And I think for me, one thing that was really helpful was just to kind of feel like some of these questions that we're asking, we all are asking. And so there was a lot of wisdom in the group, but a sense too that we're not alone in asking the questions. Betsy.
Hi. So one thing is that sort of, what do you do with the looky-loos who get a huge contract out, get a huge proposal out of you and that goes nowhere? So that's a common pain point. And one person I thought really brought up sort of the question of, well, what's your consulting budget? To try and suss out like, hey, I'm not here to just give it away free. And the other one that I really liked that Matt shared was when somebody asks you a question, like what would it cost to do X or whatever they're asking, turn it around on them and say, well, why are you asking that question? What is it about that that you need? And then why, and then why, and then why. And then it usually takes a few iterations to really get at what do folks really want. So I would say those are the big ones. And we also concluded, at least from our group, that advertising in the local regional museum associations is kind of hit or miss if it's really targeted and it's really the right thing. But we also really teed up our December program, which is what do we do when federal contracts go away? So, Laura, can you share our last slide? And thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much to Beth and to Betsy for presenting with me today. And thank you to Laura for overseeing the Zoom and the chat. And I really want to thank all of you for attending, for sharing your questions, sharing your knowledge. We'll be following up with a list of business journey related resources. And please feel free to reach out to any of us if you have any questions. You'll find our emails in the chat. And you can find the Independent Museum Professionals online and email us and ask to be added to the listserv. If you're looking for more ways to get involved with IMP, I'd encourage you to volunteer, share your program ideas, and use the survey to express your interest and share ideas. And if you have a moment, we hope that you'll complete the survey at the end of this link. It takes less than 3 minutes and will really help us prepare for our programs. So please do fill out that survey. And Betsy, I'll hand it back to you.
Yeah, we have some upcoming programs. If we can get the next slide, if Laura's computer is going to behave, it may or may not. Our December program. So again, if you go to indiemuseumpros.com, I think you can find these, but our December program is called What Now? How to Sustain Your Work and Support the Field in a Dynamic Environment, which is a polite way of saying show. That's on December 3rd at 1 p.m. Eastern. There's a registration link on our website. And then there's going to be follow-up office hours on December 9th at 12 noon to discuss further what was done in that session. And then every quarter, the community organization of the IMP has a Connect, which is just a virtual meetup. Usually it's centered around a topic, so there'll be a January meetup. So watch for future webinars, go to our website, certainly sign up for our newsletters and our listserv. I threw a question out there on the listserv this morning and got like 5 answers in about 10.5 minutes. So thank you, everybody. We really appreciate everybody's time. Wish we had more to say, or more time to share, but we'll see you on the next time. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for coming, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.